Today we are going big. We are going bold. Because when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the situation at hand with their upcoming UFAs to be, I'm going to go out there and say it, I feel like Kyle Dubas really put this team in a bad spot. In a way, he kind of put them in the worst spot. And this sort of handcuffing is what I wanted to talk about in today's video. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a post made on the Maple Leafs subreddit yesterday, and yeah, I know, I'm in Vancouver, I'm a Canucks fan, don't ask me why I was on the Leafs subreddit. But this post went out there and really illuminated to me just how odd the situation is with franchise forward Auston Matthews. Now, before we go out there and actually read the post, let's go over Matthews and his profile, talk about the situation and why this is a big deal. We had made videos even as far back as a year ago, talking about the idea of Matthews inevitably leaving. That happens to be one of the most viewed videos on this YouTube channel, oddly enough. But Matthews right now is 25 years old. He is 6'3", 205, signed till the end of 2024, so this upcoming season making $11.6 million a year. He's a UFA to be next year, and he's got a current no-move clause, which prohibits him from being traded anywhere else unless he says yes. Matthews, this previous season, had 85 points in 74 games played, a drop-off from the 100-point campaign he had last year. Now, we know last year he had 60 goals in 73 games. This year, he had 20 fewer, the same amount of assists, though, which is really interesting, and he was a point per game in the postseason, 11 points in 11 games played. However, it should be noted that the majority of that production did come in the first round against Tampa Bay. Against the Florida Panthers in the second round, Matthews, Tavares, and Marner all just they stopped scoring, oddly enough. But if you go over to the Maple Leaf sub, this is the post, which is inspiring this entire video idea in the first place. Posted by CTHT07 yesterday, if Auston Matthews signs for $13.936 million AAV or more on his next contract, he'll make more than Connor McDavid over the first 11 years of their career. Now, how does that work? Well, Matthews signed his $11.6 million AAV extension after his ELC in 2019. That was 5 years long, and it's expiring now. So, there is a certain dollar amount that if you add it on to what Matthews has already made, makes it so that Connor McDavid and his $12.5 million AAV salary for the first 8 years in his post-extension career is inferior. And the number is laid out pretty quickly right here. It's a very small number, honestly. $13.936 million AAV. That's not that high compared to what the highest paid contracts are in the NHL right now. As we had said, McDavid is making 12.5. Nathan MacKinnon is making 12.6? It's just a tad higher than Connor McDavid's. So Matthews getting a pay raise of $1.3 million over the highest paid players in the NHL would make it so that he is more expensive of an athlete than Connor McDavid in the first decade's worth of play in their timelines. The first comment from Anti-Morale Police goes out there and says this: Nathan MacKinnon has 44 goals and 56 assists in 77 playoff games. That's 1.29 points per playoff game. AAV 12.6. McDavid has a 1.53 points per playoff game, AAV 12.5, and Auston Matthews currently has 44 points in 50 playoff games, 8.88 points per playoff game. If Matthews wants an AAV like the highest paid players in the league, he needs to act like the highest paid players in the league and show up in the playoffs. There are some other replies to this too. If Matthews wants an AAV like the highest paid players in the league, he needs to act like the highest paid players. Connor McDavid, when he became the highest paid player in the league, had 5 goals and 4 assists in 13 playoff games. 0.69 points per playoff game. Nice number, by the way. The difference here is that McDavid was signed coming off his ELC and paid for a belief in his future production. Matthews is not coming off of his ELC, and he is in his prime. The next comment goes out there and talks about how all the leverage is on Auston Matthews' side. There will be a lineup out the door if Matthews goes to free agency, and only asks for a couple of million more than McDavid or McKinnon. There will likely be multiple teams willing to mortgage their future for a chance of signing a top 3 player in the league. The Leafs have no leverage. Letting a top 3 player in the league walk because he wants 10% more than only the 2 players better than him is ridiculous. McDavid and McKinnon probably did take sweetheart deals if they were being honest. There's doubt on if they could have commanded more in free agency. Vilifying Matthews, however, for simply asking for what he already is worth exactly is why players hate playing in Toronto. Auston doesn't have to do anything to get paid more than McKinnon or McDavid. He simply has to elect to test free agency, and he will get more. Now, this comment from D. Darian, you could debate whether or not Matthews is a top 3 player in the league. If he's not, whatever, but the point is, reputation matters in the NHL, especially when it comes to contract negotiations. Your former dollar amount is always put into consideration as well. And when you think about Auston Matthews being in this bubble that he is in, where everybody knows how good he is, everybody knows, okay, yeah, 60 goals, he had that, 100 points, he had that, best player in Toronto, he's supposed to be that. And you think about how McDavid, McKinnon have been in this sort of bubble as well. 12.5, 12.6, Auston Matthews just a shade below them at 11.6. When you think about Auston Matthews testing the free agency market and finding himself a position where he could demand more than all these guys, you gotta remember, even back when Tavares was a free agent, that guy could have had 13 with the San Jose Sharks before coming over and signing with the Maple Leafs at a cheaper deal. If Auston Matthews tests the free agency market, he's going to get the highest paid AAV contract in the NHL. And it's Kyle Dubas who went out there and sort of put the dominoes in place for this to happen. No, I'm not going to say that Kyle Dubas is this evil madman or whatever. That's definitely not the case. He just went out there and tried to build his hockey team the way that he wanted to do it. And it unfortunately ended up with some very big contracts being handed out to guys that you could debate may have been a tad overpaid or underpaid if you're talking about Marner or Matthews or Nylander. Even just saying, oh yeah, maybe these guys were fair value, maybe these guys are worth that amount of dollars. And okay, that's a fair assessment to make. It's just when you see other guys like Matthew Tkachuk, for example, who are also 100-point scorers, getting signed to $9.5 million AAVs, it's like, okay, well, the production is almost the same. Sure, he's a winger, so he's not as valuable as a center, but hey, guess what? Marner's a winger too, and Tkachuk fights. Marner doesn't really do that. Leon Draisaitl signed to 8.5. Sure, that was signed a long time ago, but it still has been one of the better contracts that has aged. Before Nathan McKinnon got a $12.6 million AAV deal, he was making a lot less. So, Kyle Dubas, in a way, sort of handcuffed the Maple Leafs in the worst way possible, because now you've got all these Nylander trade rumors circling around. You've got Auston Matthews being thrown into the mix too, because he wants a dollar amount that could make him the highest paid player in the league, or if he does get it, I wouldn't be surprised. But has he really done much to say that he's worth that? I mean, you could say in the bubble that he is, but contextually speaking, with how the Maple Leafs are navigating their salary cap situation, if you end up losing out on Nylander, you have to go out there and use that extra money to sign Matthews. It's just kind of how it is. And whether or not that dollar amount is $13.9 or $14.5 million a season because Auston Matthews is used to getting money in Toronto, who really knows? But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Did Kyle Dubas handcuff the Toronto Maple Leafs with the way he assembled this team? And with Auston Matthews heading into these contract negotiations for next season, where does your confidence lie that there actually is going to be a deal done, that he's going to come back to Toronto, he's not going to get the big money deal somewhere else, and what are your thoughts on what the AAV is going to be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.